Redskins, hail victory. Braves on the warpath, fight for all we see. Run or pass and score, we want a lot more. Beat 'em, swamp 'em, touch them, let the point soar. Fight on, till you have won, sons of Washington. Rock, 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 hail to the Redskins, hail victory. Braves on the warpath, fight for all we see.
What's up, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to Under Further Review. As always, I'm your host, Kenny Crossman. Usually alongside me is my man, Josh Boone, but 2020's got this whole podcast turned upside down. I hope everybody's healthy out there. It's crazy. Hopefully everything gets back to normal before the season starts. Me and Boone can start going live, talk to you guys through the chat. You guys can call in and get this podcast back to where it was. But in the meantime, I'm going to ride solo, go through every single one of the NFL teams, their all-season, their draft, the predictions that I have for 2020 and beyond for each one of these teams. I did the Bengals already. I'm just going into draft sequence order. So the Bengals were first on the clock. They're off the clock. The Redskins are on the clock here at UFR. And this is kind of a sentimental podcast for me today because most of my family is Redskin fans. Shout out to my dad, my grandma, my aunts, my cousins. My father-in-law is actually a Redskin fan, so a little sentimental today. I've always had a little soft spot for the Redskins, just in the simple fact that my family has rooted for them. I know Eagle fans and Cowboy fans and Giant fans don't want to hear that here on the podcast, but growing up, seeing them root for the Redskins, just puts a little soft, like I said, puts a little soft spot. I'd like to see the Redskins back into winning glory one of these days, just so my family can see the Redskins winning again. I think that would be really nice. So hopefully, knock on wood, maybe it could happen. I'm actually going to spin some positivity on this podcast for the Redskins. Yes, positivity for the Redskins. I know it's been a long time for the Redskins. And no, I'm not drinking. I have water with Mio, but non-alcoholic. I am talking about the Washington Redskins, and I am talking about them actually doing pretty well here in the near future. Why? I like the hire of Ron Rivera. A lot of people didn't like the hire of Ron Rivera because Ron Rivera is coming from a really bad Carolina team, in which, didn't work out. But if you look at the Carolina Panthers the last two seasons where they were struggling the most, Cam's been hurt. That team was just strictly Christian McCaffrey. If anybody watched anything Carolina, that team was really bad. Like, hands down, that's a bad team. And the Redskins, I'm not saying the Redskins in the past two seasons have been great, but what I'm going to talk about in the podcast should give more positivity to the Redskins fans than what Carolina's going to see in 2020. So Ron Rivera, I'm just going to talk about him real quick. Everywhere Ron Rivera has gone, he has been a winning coach. When he started in the NFL in his coaching career, he started off with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, when he started off with the Philadelphia Eagles, he was a linebackers coach in 1999. I think he went up to 2003, 2004, something like that. But I know he went to 3 consecutive NFC championships with the Philadelphia Eagles. So he knows the NFC East. He knows how they play. And hell, he took them to 3 consecutive NFC championships. I'm not talking about they won the division. I'm talking about that team won the NFC to the point where they went to the championship game. That's got to give some positive feedback to the Washington Redskins fans, right? He knows how to play the Cowboys. He knows how to play the Giants. Now, granted, that Eagles team was really good in the early 2000s. So maybe Ron can build the Redskins into something like the Eagles. Now, after Ron left the Eagles, Ron went to the Chicago Bears where he became the defensive coordinator. And once he was the defensive coordinator, He went to the Super Bowl with the Chicago Bears, lost to Peyton Manning, but that was a really good Super Bowl. But the only reason the Bears got to the Super Bowl was Ron Rivera's defense. I bet you some people don't even know who the Bears quarterback was in that Super Bowl. It was Rex Grossman. Rex Grossman. You know what he's doing these days? Probably bagging groceries somewhere at a Walmart. Who knows? It's Rex Grossman. Rex Grossman. Shout out to Rex Grossman. But anyway, after the Chicago Bears, he went to the San Diego Chargers, was a linebackers coach at San Diego. When he was at San Diego, took San Diego to the playoffs. He was a part of the San Diego Chargers when they went to the playoffs. They lost to the Steelers in the AFC division game, but they were in the playoffs. After he left San Diego, became the head coach for the Carolina Panthers. He was there for a while. He actually won, I think he won 3 NFC South divisions. And then he did take the Carolina Panthers to the Super Bowl in 2015. Lost to Peyton Manning again. So unfortunately for Ron Rivera, every Super Bowl that this guy has seen, he's seen Peyton Manning on the other side. And just didn't work out. But Peyton Manning's one of the best that's ever done it. So what I'm trying to say is Ron Rivera, everywhere he has gone, he has taken his team to the playoffs. That's something that the Redskin fans, just the word playoffs, that is something that they just would love to hear from this team. Because this team has been through so much over the past years that just going to the playoffs should be a breath of fresh air. And then from there, they can concentrate on trying to get back to a Super Bowl like the early 90s. But right now, let's just get to the playoffs. And I think Ron can do that. Ron's bringing in Jack Del Rio as a defensive coordinator. He's bringing in Norv Turner's son to be the offensive coordinator. I'm telling you right now, the coaching staff right now is the epitome of what I would say is like that hard-nosed coaching staff, that old-school kind of coaching staff. And I think, hopefully, they bring this kind of mentality to the Redskins team, and they could take them to playoffs over the next couple years. Now, 2020, we're going to pull the brakes back just a little bit, because in 2020, I think they don't make the playoffs, because everywhere that Ron has gone, the first season, it's usually a losing season. In Washington, it's probably going to be another losing season just in 2020. But the only reason why it's probably going to be a losing season is the fact that their quarterback situation is really bad. The quarterback situation in Washington is Kyle Allen, Dwayne Haskins, and Steven Montez. Now, I did go on to Google because I wanted to see where he was. I wanted to see how he was doing. Alex Smith is still on the roster for the Washington Redskins. Now, his injury is insane. But I did read that he was going to try to make some sort of comeback. If he did, to me, I would probably take Alex Smith over all 3 of those quarterbacks that I just gave you. Kyle Allen, he came over from Carolina last year. He filled in for Cam Newton. He did really good in like the first 5 games. After that, the whole season went to hell. Dwayne Haskins, as you guys know, the Redskin fans know, Dwayne Haskins' season last year was bad. There wasn't a whole lot of light at the end of the tunnel that I got to watch Dwayne Haskins have, especially for being a first-round draft pick, and he was... so many good things were supposed to come from him. Now, it was his first season, so I'll give him that. He might be able to turn it around. Some quarterbacks can. I just don't know if Dwayne Haskins has that ability to have that NFL career that most Redskin fans are hoping that he's going to have. To me, I've never really liked Ohio State quarterbacks coming into the league, and most of them really just don't pan out. So Dwayne Haskins being one of those, one and done quarterbacks at Ohio State, had a great season. Then all of a sudden he comes in and, he's the best thing since sliced bread. I just don't like Dwayne Haskins as an NFL quarterback. I just don't think he's going to pan out as an NFL quarterback, but time will tell. Now, other than the quarterback situation in Washington, which is a big thing, obviously the quarterback's the most crucial part of a team, Washington has a really good young team ahead of them. Really good young team. I mean, this team could be overlooked so much by so many other teams until you actually look at their roster. It's insane. Let's just start at the running back depth for the Washington Redskins. Okay, they went out and got Peyton Barber from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so they got one guy with NFL experience, right? They got Adrian Peterson, another guy that with NFL experience that still has productivity. We've seen it in the past couple seasons. He might be old and, aging up, but at 35, 36 years old, he's still productive. So it's still AP. Now behind them, Darius Geis, if he can stay healthy, oh my gosh, Darius Geis could be a really, really good running back in the league. After that, you have Bryce Love. Remember Bryce Love from Stanford? Runner-up he was one of the finalists for the Heisman. He went back to Stanford. He should have never went back to Stanford. Should have went right into the NFL after that. But he's been hurt. But if he stays healthy, man, I think Bryce Love, Darius Geis, AP, you got Peyton Barber, and then you went out in the draft and you got a steal in Antonio Gibson. I watched Memphis a few times, and I'm telling you what, Antonio Gibson's a beast. Is a beast. I mean, he's 6 foot. He's fast. He'll smack you in the mouth. I really do like Antonio Gibson. Now, their depth at running back, like I just said, those are some really, really, really young guys. We're talking 21, 22 years old. Their contracts, they still have a long period on their contracts, so they're not going to take up a whole lot of money. They got time to develop, to build. This is a really good thing for the Washington Redskins. Their running back core is starting to be young. They're going to start to develop. As long as they're healthy, this could be pretty scary. The wide receiving core is, again, really young. I mean, really, really young. They got Kelvin Harmon from NC State. I liked watching him at NC State. So they got Kelvin Harmon. They went out in the draft and they got Antonio Golden from Liberty. That's actually, if you watch his highlights, he's 6'4", but he plays bigger than 6'4". I've never gone on YouTube before and typed in Liberty highlights. I've never watched any Liberty games, but do yourself a favor, go watch his highlights. This guy's impressive. So they got him. They got Scary Terry. Scary Terry is probably he was on my fantasy team last year, and let me tell you, Scary Terry came out the gate swinging for his rookie season. I remember that game against, I think it was the Eagles in Washington. Whew. Yeah, Scary Terry, he's going to be the number one right now. I would like him as a 2 and maybe a slot, but their slot, I think, might be Steven Sims, who is a diamond in the rough. Mark my words, Steven Sims, watch out for Steven Sims Jr. Just watch him. Just saying. So I like Scary Terry probably as a 2. I'd like to see them get a number 1. They got so many young receivers right now that can possibly turn out to be the number 1. But I'd like to see them go out and get an experienced number 1 to help allow and develop these younger receivers so they're not getting double covered. If you have a solid, experienced number 1, wide receiver, they're going to have that safety over the top. They're going to have some sort of coverage to that side of the field that's going to monitor whoever that receiver would be, opens up the inside of the opposite side of the field, or vice versa, or you have the opposite side of the field one-on-one with maybe a single high safety that would have to take 2 routes. So it allows those receivers to have a better opportunity of getting open and allowing them to develop as, an NFL receiver with just one-on-one coverage, rather than, you're going to have right now Scary Terry is number 1. He's going to be, at least safety over the top at all times with his speed. And then basically at that point in time, you're going to have somebody step up as that wide receiver, that number 2 wide receiver for the Redskins. Is it going to be Sims Jr.? Is it going to be Golden? We don't know. They're so young. So there's not a whole lot of experience at the wide receiver, the wide receivers for the Redskins, but don't frown on that, because having these guys so young starting right now, building for the future has got to be, I mean, licking their chops in Washington. The fact that these guys are getting the experience now at such a young age, at the running back core, at the wide receiving core, these guys are only going to get better with experience. So this team right now at skill player positions are pretty scary for the fact that how young they are. So looking at this roster is insane. Their tight ends, they got well, I think Jeremy Sprinkle's probably going to start it off, but they got some really, really good young tight ends too. I liked Caleb Wilson out of UCLA. They got Logan Thomas from Virginia Tech. They got Thaddeus Moss from LSU. Yes, that is Randy Moss's son, and he was great at LSU. So I think LSU, Thaddeus Moss coming to the Redskins, that's a big deal, especially with Jordan Reed was probably the biggest bust for you guys for a while, because Jordan Reed's potential could have been sky high, but he just could never be healthy enough to stay on the field. Now you have a plethora of young talent. I'm talking plethora of young talent from wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, and then you're saying to yourself, man, well, if they got all this young talent on skill sets, on these skill players, what's their offensive line look like? Well, the offensive line finished 13th last year in the NFL. 13th. That's without Williams. Trent Williams didn't even play, and they finished 13th. Had Trent Williams played, they would have finished top 10, under maybe top 10. That the Washington offensive line actually played pretty lights out for what they had, and that's awesome. The fact that they finished 13th without their best offensive lineman, that's got to speak volumes. That's got to speak volumes. Obviously, the biggest thing in this offseason, if it can get done, hopefully before the season ends, is you got to sign Brandon Sheriff to some sort of long-term deal. The standout guard that you got from Iowa, he needs to get a contract. He is the focal point of that offensive line. That's the biggest thing offensively, moving forward, of the biggest offensive players in free agency for 2021 that you're definitely going to need to sign. So other than him, everybody else is so young, you don't have to worry about their contracts. Literally, it's just open for Brandon. So the offensive line did pretty well last year. And they really got better in the offseason, in my mind, because what they did was they went out and they got, I would say, a pretty underrated offensive tackle from LSU, Shadiq Charles, who if you go back and watch LSU, he plays like a Trent Williams. I mean, obviously he needs to get the experience, but his physique and his body, I mean, this dude's 6'5", 320 pounds. This guy can move. And he was part of that LSU team for Joe Burrow and that national championship team. So I'm telling you, with the offensive line, you got Morgan Moses on one side. You're probably going to have Shadiq Charles on the other side. You have some veterans in between there for that offensive line. I honestly think the Redskins offense is there. It's there for the future. It's only the quarterback that is the biggest question mark. If the quarterback can be found, if there's somebody that can just step up and say, let's do this, then the Redskins moving forward could be going somewhere. Now, the Redskins' offensive rank last year was terrible. They were 31st in yards per game, 32nd in third down conversions, 32nd in points per game, 32nd in pass yards. So let's just go over the last three, and I'll put those on Dwayne Haskins. So 32nd in pass yards, they were dead last. 32nd in points per game, dead last. 32nd in third down conversions, dead last. The points per game could be hit or miss because you could still win with a low-scoring game if there's good defense. But the third down converts and the passing yards, that's on the quarterback. You need to find a way to get those drives to extend, and you need to find a better way of getting more passing yards to open up the run game. Because without those passing yards to be a threat, they're just going to load that box up and make you, as a quarterback who's been struggling, to beat them. And you just couldn't do it. So find a way to get that ball out there, to get more passing yards, open up the run, get the guys out of a loaded box set, and then obviously you got to convert. You got to continue to move these drives and get into scoring position, because if you don't, you go 3 and out. That defense, which I'm about to get into, you're just going to tire them out so damn fast. So somebody's got to step up at the quarterback position to help out this defense. Now, this defense that I'm about to talk about, I'm telling you right now, I'm not even a Redskin fan, and I'm excited to watch this defense because it's just getting better. It's just getting better. So the defense, before I get into it, the defense last year finished 27th in yards allowed per game. They were 32nd in allowing the most third down conversions. They were 31st against the run, but they were 18th against the pass and 14th in takeaways. So those stats alone, just listen to that. They were 27th in yards allowed per game, 32nd in allowing the most third down conversions, 27th in the points per game, and 31st against the run. However, they were 18th against the pass and 14th in takeaways. Those stats, to me, lead me to believe that defense was freaking gassed last year. That's why they were so bad. They were so bad because they were on the field so many times because their offense could not produce. That's where that's going. I mean, you can look at those stats and say whatever you like. I look at that and say the fact that they were 14th in takeaways, but they were 32nd in allowing third down conversions. The fact that they can take away that many balls and give up that many conversions is a fact that they were on the field so much. So much. They're just gassed. But let's talk about this defense. The defense got better this year. Let's talk about the front four. Front four right now could be some of the best in the league. Ryan Kerrigan, still my standout dude. I've liked him ever since he was in the league. Ryan Kerrigan. You got Montez Sweat. I'm telling you, I don't know how he dropped so far last year in that draft, but the Redskins got a freaking steal on Montez Sweat. Not only did you get a steal on Montez Sweat, but this year you went out and got Chase Young. Chase Young, you have as a defensive end, you have Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Ryan Kerrigan. Just those three guys alone, some teams would just die to have one of those guys. You got three of them. Now, in the inner part of your defensive line, you got Jonathan Allen, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, both Bama boys. If they stay healthy, good Lord, good night, Irene. These guys are big dudes. Jonathan Allen is 6'3", 300 pounds. Deron Payne is 6'3", 320. These guys are Bama boys that know how to get a defensive interior done. Defense interior done. Love it. And then let's go to your linebackers. You got, and if he can get himself together and showcase what he can do, because he did it at Alabama. If he can showcase it, Reuben Foster could be a great inside-outside linebacker for the Redskins, right? So you got Reuben Foster, John Bostic, Thomas Davis Sr. Again, it's still Thomas Davis. He's known with Ron Rivera. He's from Carolina. This is just a match made in heaven for me, I think. him coming over to Washington, given that NFL experience. I mean, he's been around forever to teach these young guys inside. You got Cole Holcomb, who could, use Thomas Davis to help him out. I really do like the linebacking core that they're trying to develop. It's young, it's raw, but they're trying to develop it. And I also think at some point they could probably get Kaleki Hudson, the safety, linebacker, whatever you want to call him, hybrid that they drafted from Michigan. He might be able to play that like hybrid linebacker for the Redskins that could pay off in dividends. Could really pay off. So their linebacking core is young, but it's got still experienced talent in Bostic and Davis that can try to get these guys into that really good NFL outside linebacker mold. So the linebacking core. Now we'll go into the cornerbacks. The cornerbacks, you got Ronald Darby from the Eagles. I didn't mind Ronald Darby. He got burned a few times, but I still like Ronald Darby. Kendall Fuller. You still have Landon Collins as safety. You got my man from Pittsburgh. He was hurt last year, but Sean Davis. You got with DeShazer Everett. So a lot of, your back end, your corners, most of these guys are really good. Fabian Moreau, Aaron Colvin. So coming into this, I was like, wow, the Redskins legit everything I like on this team except for the quarterback. Now, we can spin this just a little bit, because if this season is what I think it's going to be, a losing season, which I hate saying that because I don't like predicting teams to lose. I really don't. But I just feel like in this division right now, it's still up for grabs with the Cowboys or the Eagles. Maybe the Redskins can squeak in and say, hey, you know what, we're ready to play this year. We don't know. But I still think it's the Eagles and Cowboys to lose. 2021 is a very, very, very important and interesting offseason for the Redskins. The reason why is the two players that are going to be the main focal point for them is going to be Brandon Sheriff and Ryan Kerrigan. They get those two deals done, right? Before those deals get done, the Redskins are fourth in cap space in 2021 with $88 million. If they can get Ryan Kerrigan and Brandon Sheriff on some sort of really good deal that still gives them a lot of cap to play with, that could open up multiple doors for a quarterback that comes in. And depending on how bad the Redskins do, there are some quarterbacks in the draft next year that I would be excited the Redskins would get. Now, I don't know if they're going to get a Trevor Lawrence, right? But there are some quarterbacks out there that might pan out better than what they have right now. But as a Redskin, if I was a Redskin fan, I would look at free agency, see what experienced NFL quarterbacks would be out in 2021. I have not looked at that yet, but I would try to dabble in somebody that has some sort of winning experience in the NFL and bring them on. And then in the draft, see, depending on where you guys land, see if there's somebody out there that might tickle your fancy a little bit more than what's currently on the roster. Unless Dwayne Haskins has some sort of crazy year this year, I just don't see. Mark my words, if Dwayne Haskins has another horrible season this year, it's done. There's no way that you can just continue to give this guy chances. You have to turn the page right now. So if Dwayne Haskins has a horrible year, move on. Give Kyle Allen a chance. Give Steven Montez a chance. Hell, ask Alex Smith if he wants to come back and throw some balls. I don't care. But if Dwayne Haskins is having I would say by a week 7, if Dwayne Haskins is 1-6 or 1-5, just put him on the bench. I didn't think he was NFL ready. it's looking like he might not be NFL ready or ever be NFL ready. Throw Kyle Allen in, see what happens. If Kyle Allen can't do it, throw Steven Montez in and finish the season, and then work on that quarterback situation next year. And then moving forward with this team, how young they are in every position, and they do have some veteran experience in the key spots that they have, this team can be scary. Can be scary. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm saying it. Shout out to all my family members and anybody that's a Redskin fan. Hold on. Hold on. Because if time and the past can repeat itself over and over again, Ron Rivera is going to get you guys to a playoff. I'm not saying Super Bowl. I'm saying he's going to get you to the playoffs. So just hang on. Let's see what happens. Might not happen in 2020, but 2021 and beyond could be the Redskins to take. Just saying. So thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know your comments on the Redskins, how you think they're going to do. If you're Redskin fans out there, let me know. What are you most excited about the Redskins this year? Do you think Dwayne Haskins is going to turn it around? Do you think he is the quarterback of the future for the Redskins? And if he's not, like I think he's not, who do you think is going to be that future quarterback for the Redskins? I'd love to know your opinions. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I'm going to give you an outro song. Like I did for all my podcasts that I do for the teams, I like to do an artist from the area. Now Duke Ellington is from Washington. He's a great. But I wanted to do somebody that when I think of DC, I think of immediately I think of this artist. So I'm gonna play some Wale. And people that don't know who Wale is, it's fine. But Wale is a diehard DC PG County boy. Always repping the Redskins, so I'm gonna play Wale as I'm leaving out of the podcast. The next podcast I will probably drop next week, so stay tuned. And thank you guys for tuning in. As always, good night.
Only time, let me go. In my heart, hurt my soul.
Never ever know your soul. Never know your heart.
Make me smile, make me frown.
You don't never know how to sit in this way. Tell me. I'm just waiting on somebody to show me.
Give me love, take it all away.
Yeah, ain't no love in the heart of the city. This way you tell me. Beef with over 100. Don't none of them know me. Son of a mother studying at EBC. Sitting in taxi cabs with daddy roaming the streets. 7 hallelujahs, my sultana was clean. On everything I wear it, all the American tees. This whole system is prolific in the DMV. Listen, when you get the keys to sell them, you don't get the beef. Make the one, get the piece to get the piece. You gon' need more to get to me. PG to Mo County, bet they all know about me. Every hood, every burb.